The alien armada drifted above the burning colony world, their black hulls gleaming against the blood-red glow of firestorms below. Entire cities had been erased in less than an hour, reduced to glowing scars across the landscape. For the Zeroth Dominion, this was routine. Admiral Kaeldar stood on the command dais of his flagship and watched with a cool, predatory detachment. To him, the screams of millions carried no more weight than the wind. "Pathetic," he muttered, his mandibles clicking in disdain. His second-in-command, Varen, gave a dry laugh. "They hardly fought at all. We spent more time maneuvering than killing." It was true. The human colony had fallen without ceremony. A few orbital defense guns fired erratically before being swatted aside. Ground resistance amounted to scattered militias wielding weapons centuries behind Zeroth standards. The most dangerous threat had been a civilian freighter attempting a suicidal ramming run, heroic but ultimately meaningless. "Another pest world exterminated," Varen said. "They scatter like vermin, breed like vermin, die like vermin. Why the High Council even bothers cataloging them is beyond me." Kaeldar allowed himself a faint smile. His warriors needed the illusion of challenge, even if there was none. "We bother because vermin infest. Better to burn them before they spread too far." He turned his gaze back to the flames below. "They remind me of the Kalari, clever tools, brittle bones, easily broken. We crushed them within a decade. Humanity will not last even half that." The room filled with low laughter, a chorus of arrogance that fed on itself. Yet Kaeldar felt a flicker of unease he quickly buried. Humans were strange among the lesser races, fragile, yes, but unpredictable. They adapted too quickly, fought too stubbornly, and their eyes carried a fire he rarely saw outside his own kind. Still, what was unpredictability against an empire that had reigned unchallenged for millennia? A transmission crackled over the bridge. A scout ship had returned from the Sol system, broadcasting grainy images of Earth, blue oceans, sprawling cities, orbital stations gleaming like beads of light. The bridge crew leaned forward, curious. "Central world," Varen sneered. "Crowded, fat with civilians. They hide their strength in their core like all cowards. Easy pickings." The scout captain's voice was eager. "If we strike Earth itself, the others will collapse. Cut off the head, the body dies." Kaeldar studied the images in silence. His instinct told him something about Earth was different, but instinct was a luxury for lesser beings. His empire demanded decisiveness. "Prepare the fleet," he ordered. "We march on their homeworld. Let this species witness true subjugation." A cheer rippled across the bridge, triumphant and unchallenged. Plans were laid with mechanical precision. They would descend in overwhelming force, strip the skies bare, shatter defenses, and drag humanity to its knees. When the fleet arrived weeks later, Earth hung serene in the void, its colors sharp against the blackness of space. No resistance awaited them, no fleets massed, no orbital batteries flared. It was almost insulting. The invasion armada unfolded in formation, 1,000 ships surrounding the planet like a clenched fist. Kaeldar leaned forward. "Begin bombardment. Show them what it means to defy the Dominion." But as the first command pulsed through the void, a voice interrupted the silence. Not a plea for mercy, not a cry of terror.
"Calm. Human. Male."
The transmission cut through every channel simultaneously. "This is Captain Marcus Kane, United States Marine Corps." The bridge went utterly still. The human's tone was measured, steady, almost conversational. His face appeared on their displays, scarred, eyes sharp, posture unflinching despite staring down a force that had obliterated countless civilizations. "You've made a mistake," Kane said. His voice carried no desperation, no bravado, just a cold certainty. "You think Earth is just another colony. You think you understand what war means. But you've only seen us trying to be civilized." Varen barked a laugh. "Civilized? They crawl on dirt and throw rocks at the stars. What is this animal saying?" Kane didn't blink. His gaze locked with Kaeldar's through the projection, as if he could see the alien commander personally. You came here expecting prey. What you found is something else. You won't understand now, but soon enough you will. Kaeldar stepped closer to the display, narrowing his eyes. You dare speak threats to the Dominion? With what army? With what weapons? Kane's expression remained calm, almost pitying. With history. With memory. With everything we swore never to use again. You think war is conquest. For us, war is survival. And when survival is on the line, Admiral, we do things your empire can't even imagine. For the first time, the bridge crew felt an unease that no weapon could silence. Kane didn't sound like a soldier trying to rally hope. He sounded like a man telling the truth. The transmission ended without flourish, replaced by the quiet hum of the ship's systems. No threats of vengeance, no lists of demands. Just a warning. Kaeldar forced a laugh, though it rang hollow in his throat. Empty words, he muttered, but he could not shake the image of those human eyes, eyes that did not fear extinction, eyes that remembered. The Admiral turned to his crew. Advance the attack, he ordered. Yet his voice lacked its earlier conviction. Outside, Earth remained silent. Not trembling, not begging. Just waiting. And Kaeldar, against every instinct honed by centuries of conquest, felt as though the planet itself was staring back. This section runs about 1,190 words, tightly focused on introducing Admiral Kaeldar, Captain Marcus Kane, and the central conflict, alien arrogance colliding with human restraint. Would you like me to push even heavier on Marcus Kane's inner perspective in the next section, or keep him enigmatic until the aliens start realizing what war crimes mean? The intercepted transmission was not meant for alien ears. It crackled through static, layered with the calm cadence of a man who had spent too many years in uniform to waste words. The alien linguists replayed it several times before delivering it to their commander. By then, the voice had already lodged itself in their minds, low and deliberate, carrying none of the fear or desperation they expected from humans. Captain Marcus Hale, United States Marine Corps, was explaining something to his squad in the aftermath of the first alien assault on Earth's atmosphere. His words carried no drama, no shouting, just the unshakable authority of someone who had seen too much to be impressed anymore. You need to understand what war crimes mean, he said, voice dry, almost instructional. They're not what we do to win. They're what we all agreed not to do because they work too damn well. The alien commander listened from the bridge of his battered flagship, mandibles tightening. For cycles, the Dominion had catalogued primitive species across the spiral arms. None had ever spoken of restraining themselves in war. The concept was alien to them, absurd even. War was about overwhelming force, absolute dominance, victory at any cost. Why would a species deliberately chain itself? Hale's voice did not waver. That's the thing about humanity. We built weapons to end civilizations, and then we locked them away. We agreed not to use them. But don't mistake that for weakness. It's restraint. A leash. You try to snap that leash, you won't like what comes off the chain. The bridge fell into silence. Alien officers exchanged uneasy glances, their commander pretending calm, but feeling something gnawing beneath his carapace. The man had not been threatening, not directly. He had been warning, like a teacher explaining fire to children too young to know what burning meant. Outside, Earth's defense grid activated again with chilling precision. Orbital railguns fired in exact synchronization, their tungsten slugs tearing through Dominion frigates as though the aliens had sailed into a prepared execution ground. Human counterstrikes were not random. They were orchestrated, each movement anticipating alien retreat paths before they even thought of them. The commander's arrogance fractured as he watched 3 of his destroyers vanish in coordinated bursts of light. This was not desperation. This was patience. It dawned on him with slow horror. Earth had been waiting. Every feeble colony they'd raided, every easy conquest, had been a lure. Decoys sacrificed to paint humanity as harmless prey. Admiral, one of his tacticians whispered, eyes wide. They are not improvising. They are executing a plan. The words cut deeper than any weapon. On Earth's surface, Captain Hale stood with his squad in the ruins of an abandoned observation post overlooking the sea. His armor was scorched, his face streaked with dirt, but his voice remained steady as he reviewed data feeds projected on his visor. He spoke to his Marines the way a surgeon might speak to interns, precise, unemotional, instructional. They're probing, not realizing they're already inside the kill box. Look here. This fleet's moving to reinforce, but our blink-jump ships will intercept before they even cross the belt. He drew lines across the map, his gauntlet tracing arcs of predicted destruction. The moment they commit, we sever their escape routes. They'll either surrender or die tired. One of the younger Marines, Private Lewis, shifted uneasily. Sir, what if they just keep sending more? What if it's endless? Hale gave him a look both weary and sharp. Then they learn endurance isn't theirs alone. We've been fighting each other for millennia. They're about to realize the worst thing they could have done was teach us to aim outward instead of inward. He did not need to raise his voice. The squad listened, as much to the words as to the unspoken weight behind them. Hale wasn't trying to inspire. He was telling them the truth. And somehow that truth carried more steel than any speech of glory. Above them, humanity's counterstrike began in earnest. Silent wormhole apertures opened in near orbit, disgorging fleets that had never been charted in any Dominion survey. Ships bristling with adaptive armor and stealth coatings materialized exactly where they needed to be, flanking the Dominion reinforcements, cutting them apart before formation could even be established. The alien commander's second-in-command whispered. They knew. Every move we'd make, they knew. Impossible, the commander hissed, but the conviction was gone. Watching human precision unfold, he realized his war college lectures, his grand strategies, all looked like children's games beside this. The human fleet did not broadcast triumph or threats. Their comms, when intercepted, were terrifying for their cold brevity. Fleet Alpha, engage. Minimal losses expected. Squadron 3, confirm clean corridor. No survivors. Earth Command, primary objective secure. Continue as planned. Not a single word wasted. Not a single voice raised. On the ground, Hale received the uplink updates as though checking the time of day. His squad saw the reports of annihilated Dominion fleets, whole formations erased in minutes. He simply nodded. Right on schedule. The private who had questioned him earlier whispered, Sir, we're winning? Hale gave a ghost of a smile, humor so dry it cut. We were never losing, kid. That was the trick. By now, the alien commander understood. Humanity had staged the appearance of fragility. They had let the Dominion bleed them at the edges, each loss buying time, baiting overconfidence, funneling the enemy toward Earth where every railgun, every satellite, every hidden fleet waited with surgical patience. And worst of all, it had worked. The Dominion had believed in their superiority so blindly, they had walked into the snare like beasts fattened for slaughter. On his flagship, the commander's mandibles trembled. They could have destroyed us outright. Why do they let us flee? Hale's words returned to him, unshakable, echoing like prophecy. We agreed not to use them. But don't mistake that for weakness. The humans weren't sparing them out of mercy. They were sending a message. A cold, deliberate demonstration of power restrained, letting the survivors carry their terror home. For the first time in his long career, the commander felt something new at the core of his chest. Not rage, not humiliation.
Fear.
Earth had not been prey. Earth had been the hunter, patient and silent, waiting for the Dominion to step just close enough. And now the trap had closed. The commander looked at the dying stars of his fleet through the viewport, and the realization spread through him like a toxin. Humanity hadn't revealed their strength to boast. They had revealed it to warn. The war had only just begun, and the Dominion had already lost its illusion of control. The alien commander had watched countless battle reports over the span of his career, but none lingered like the images now streaming across his console. Earth's defenses had left scars not only in his fleet, but in his mind. He sat in the dim glow of the bridge, replaying fragments of intercepted transmissions, human voices speaking with a chilling casualness about destruction on scales he struggled to comprehend. The archivist had brought forward historical footage, conflicts fought long before humanity had reached the stars. At first, he thought they were exaggerations, propaganda designed to terrify. But the deeper he looked, the more the horror compounded. Grainy footage of mushroom clouds rising into the sky, cities erased in blinding flashes, entire landscapes turned to ash. In another clip, soldiers trudged through mud and smoke, their faces gaunt but unbroken, advancing under artillery fire that never ceased. One recording held him transfixed, a Marine officer speaking in front of captured ruins during the Second World War. The man's words were old, the language strange, but the meaning carried across centuries. Total war, the officer declared. No half measures. No retreat until the enemy cannot stand again. The commander leaned back, carapace creaking. These weren't primitive skirmishes. These were rehearsals for extinction. And the humans had carried those lessons forward. "Admiral," his aide whispered, clearly unsettled, "how can a species survive such self-inflicted ruin?" The commander's mandibles clicked softly as he answered. "They survived because they refused not to. They burn, but they do not break. It is unnatural." He thought again of Captain Hale's voice, calm and steady, explaining war crimes as though reading from a manual. Restraint as a conscious choice, not a limitation. He wondered what else humanity kept chained away. Far across the void, Hale stood in a secure bunker beneath Earth's surface, eyes fixed on shifting tactical projections. The room hummed with quiet urgency, officers exchanging clipped confirmations as new reports flowed in. The counteroffensive was working, but his thoughts were not on victories tallied. They were on the men and women staring back at him, tired eyes gleaming with the weight of what they had been asked to do. "Sir," Lieutenant Ortiz said, stepping closer, "the Dominion fleets are pulling back. Not in formation. It looks like panic." Hale nodded, expression unreadable. Fear spreads faster than fire once the spark catches. Ortiz hesitated. "We're really going to push them all the way back, aren't we?" "That depends," Hale replied evenly, "on whether they learn before it's too late." The lieutenant frowned. "Learn what?" Hale finally looked up, his gaze steady, unflinching. "That war against us is no longer survivable." His words were not bravado, they were observation. And that truth settled over the room with the weight of inevitability. On the Dominion homeworld, the council chamber buzzed with fury and denial. Senators hissed accusations across the floor, their voices layered in contempt. Reports of fleets lost, colonies abandoned, soldiers refusing to re-engage. It all crashed against the walls of arrogance that had shielded their empire for generations. "This is exaggeration," one senator spat. "A fluke. A clever ambush. They fight like beasts, but beasts tire," another added. "We will regroup. We will overwhelm." The alien commander stood before them, his posture rigid though his inner core twisted with unease. He spoke with deliberate clarity, refusing to let them ignore the truth. "You do not understand what you face. Earth was not an accident. It was prepared. They let us think them weak. Every colony we burned, every city we leveled, they allowed it. They fed us our own arrogance until we believed ourselves invincible." Murmurs rippled across the chamber, some disbelieving, others visibly shaken. One counselor scoffed, mandibles snapping. "You were defeated and now you search for excuses." "No," the commander said sharply, the first edge of anger breaking through. "I saw it. I felt it. Their restraint is the most dangerous weapon they wield. You think them primitive? Then explain their precision. Explain how they knew where we would strike, how they dismantled fleets without wasting a shot. That is not improvisation. That is calculation perfected." A silence followed, heavy and brittle. The commander pressed forward. "I studied their history. They have destroyed themselves more times than we can count. They have weaponized the planet beneath their feet, poisoned their skies, burned their seas, and yet they endure. What kind of species practices annihilation on itself, and then survives to carry that knowledge outward. The chamber fractured into arguments, some senators shouting for escalation, others whispering of negotiation. The commander saw only doom in both paths. Back in the bunker, Hale watched the live feeds of the Dominion's retreating ships. To anyone else, it might have looked like triumph. To him, it looked like the beginning of something darker. He rubbed the scar on his jaw, an old habit when his thoughts grew heavy. Private Lewis approached him hesitantly. "Sir, do you think they'll quit? After this?" Hale considered the question carefully. Empires don't quit. They bleed. They fracture. And sometimes, they fall apart before they admit defeat. Lewis swallowed hard. "So this isn't over." Hale gave a faint, humorless smile. "Kid, this was never going to be over quickly. The moment they set foot on Earth, they turned it into a war they can't win. But they'll die trying not to believe it." The weight of his words pressed into the squad. Hale could see it. The fear, the exhaustion, but also the flicker of pride. They were standing where no human had ever stood before, not as survivors, but as predators awakening. In the Dominion Council chamber, the commander's warning fell on deaf ears. His final plea, "We must negotiate before they unleash what they have buried," was drowned by jeers of weakness and cowardice. The council voted for escalation, blind in their hubris. As the chamber emptied, the commander stood alone, the weight of inevitability settling over him. He had seen the fire in humanity's history, heard the calm in their voices, and understood what the others refused to grasp. They had not yet seen humanity unchained. And when they did, it would already be too late. The Dominion's armadas surged toward the human perimeter with the fury of a wounded beast. Ship after ship tore through the black, their drives burning at unsustainable levels, commanders shouting for honor, for revenge, for the reclamation of dignity. But rage was no substitute for strategy, and against what waited, rage was just kindling. Human fleets emerged from silent wormholes with surgical precision, every vessel sliding into place as though guided by an unseen hand. They did not announce themselves, did not broadcast threats or boasts. They simply appeared where they were needed, and the battle was already lost before the first shot fired. Captain Marcus Hale stood in the operations center on Earth, watching the tactical display bloom with collapsing Dominion formations. He felt no triumph, only the hollow inevitability of a trap finally snapping shut. His jaw was tight, his voice steady. "Vector Bravo, execute. Fleet Delta, cut their retreat corridors. Make it clean." Orders rippled outward. Human squadrons advanced like blades of light, each strike crippling, each maneuver anticipating the enemy before they acted. Dominion cruisers burned silently in the void, their weapons silenced by precision EMP strikes. Drones infiltrated their command ships, slicing through networks and turning their own systems against them. Whole battle groups vanished in coordinated bursts, not of chance, but of intent. On his flagship, the alien commander staggered as the reports cascaded in, flank destroyed, reinforcements lost, navigation compromised. He clutched the railing, mandibles trembling, his eyes fixed on the relentless efficiency of his enemy. This wasn't a battle. It was a dismantling, an autopsy performed on a living empire. "They knew," he whispered, his voice broken. "They knew everything we would do." His officers looked to him for orders, for strength, but all he could give them was the truth gnawing at his core. This is not war. This is extermination slowed down for mercy. And still the humans did not annihilate indiscriminately. They struck to cripple, to paralyze, to leave survivors who would carry the memory of fear. It was a lesson written in fire. "You should have left us alone." Hale turned from the display, eyes falling on the young Marines clustered near the comms. They watched with awe and dread, whispering at the scale of destruction. He addressed them without raising his voice. "Don't cheer. Don't ever cheer. This isn't victory. This is what happens when we stop pretending." Private Lewis swallowed hard, the weight of it sinking in. "Sir, are we becoming like them?" Hale's gaze softened for a moment.
No.
"If we were like them, we'd already be wiping their worlds from the stars. We're not doing this because we want to. We're doing it because they forced us. Remember that difference. Hold on to it. In the Dominion capital, the council chamber dissolved into chaos. Senators screamed over each other, some demanding immediate surrender, others clinging to delusions of counterattack. Reports of human fleets striking simultaneously across multiple sectors had shattered their composure. Colonies surrendered without orders, soldiers deserted, governors declared neutrality. The empire was collapsing not only militarily, but from within. The commander entered the chamber, his armor scorched, his presence silencing the noise for a heartbeat. "It is over," he said flatly. "You speak of honor, of resistance, but your fleets are gone, your colonies are yielding, and the humans are at your gates. The war is lost." One senator hissed, "You are a coward." "Coward?" The commander's voice rose, uncharacteristically sharp. "I faced them. I saw what they chose not to unleash. You call restraint weakness, but it is the only reason your world is not already ash." The chamber fell into a hush. His words carried the ring of truth none wished to hear. Moments later, human ships appeared in orbit above the Dominion homeworld. Not a bombardment fleet, not an extermination force, but a presence, silent, immovable, undeniable. The message was clear. Humanity did not need to burn the capital to prove dominion. They already held it. In the bunker on Earth, Hale received the transmission from human command. The offer of terms had been sent: surrender, disarmament, integration under oversight. No slavery, no slaughter, stability, nothing more. He closed his eyes briefly, knowing what it meant. Humanity would not celebrate. Humanity would endure, and from this endurance would come something far more permanent than conquest. The alien commander stood alone in the council chamber when the human message arrived. The senators scattered, some weeping, some shouting for rebellion. He read the words in silence, mandibles tight. They had been offered survival. Not pride, not freedom as they knew it, but survival. And survival, in the face of humanity, was more than they had earned. When the humans came to meet him, Hale among them, the commander bowed his head. His voice was steady, though heavy with shame. "You want me as your puppet." Hale regarded him coolly.
No.
"We want you as a governor. Your people will listen to you. Better you guide them through what comes next than let them drown in denial. We don't need slaves. We need order." The commander searched Hale's eyes for cruelty, for conquest, but found only that terrible steadiness. The calm of a predator who killed only when pushed. At last he nodded. "I will serve. For my people." Hale inclined his head, not triumphantly but solemnly. "That's all we ask." Later, alone on Earth's surface, Hale stood outside the bunker, the night sky burning with unfamiliar constellations. The war was over, at least for now. But he knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had shown its hand, and the galaxy had seen. There would be no going back. Ortiz joined him, gazing upward. "Do you think this will hold, sir?"
Peace.
Hale didn't answer immediately. He traced the stars with his eyes, thinking of the history he had studied, the warnings he had given, the restraint they had shown. Finally, he said quietly, "Peace isn't given. It's enforced. They know that now." Lewis's voice came from behind, uncertain. "And if they test us again?" Hale let the silence stretch before answering. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "Then they'll learn what war crimes really look like." The stars glimmered above, vast and unblinking, as though the galaxy itself was listening. Humanity had not sought this war, but it had awakened something no empire could put back to sleep. They had stopped pretending, and now the universe would live with the consequences.